Well, a very, very happy Wednesday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me today. A lot to get done, and we're going to continue to talk about our San Diego Padres. As unfortunately for the Padres, they enter the offseason a little bit earlier than a lot of the other ball clubs, and we'll get into the postseason play that continues tonight. We got 4 games later today, so a lot of good baseball coming up later today. But we're going to get out to our big guest today. And this is a man that he retired from the Associated Press, but he's still back doing stuff, still working his tail off as always. We head out to our newsmaker line. Our good friend Bernie Wilson joins us on the John Kentera Show. And Bernie, good morning. How are you?
Good, Coach. How are you? Good morning to you.
Doing very well, doing very well. And now that baseball has come to an end in San Diego, I see you're out covering a little high school football on Friday nights.
Yeah, the UT stamped me up to do some East County games. I've missed a few Friday nights, but I've done 4 games at 4 different stadiums. Going to be doing a fifth this coming Friday night out at Granite Hills. So, I mean, it's fun. It's different. I mean, I haven't done preps since 1983. You're sort of talk about being on an island. I mean, you don't have a monitor in front of you. You don't have the live stats. You don't have replays. You don't, but you get through. You keep your own stats. You sit by. I sat by some of the coaches the other night. Some of the El Cap coaches out at Steel Canyon, and they've got a nifty little iPad system where they've got a video camera going, and they probably 2 video cameras, and they were showing replays and helping me with recap and scoring plays. And and sometimes you luck out and sit next to one of these prep services that broadcast games, so you get through it. It's different, it's fun. It certainly is different to see the game at a different level, away from the ego and the prima donnas and all that stuff that we got used to seeing in the big leagues and NFL and whatnot. So it's cool.
Bernie, let's start at the very, very top. Let's talk about with the Padre ownership. Okay. And that seems to kind of be, I guess, stabilized to a certain degree right now. John Seidler is running the ball club. I don't know anything really about John Seidler other than he was Peter Seidler's brother. He sent out a letter the other day to all the fans, keep the faith, and, we're trying to bring a championship ball club, kind of the standard end of the season letter to make sure everybody's sending their season ticket money in for next year. But we haven't heard from John Seidler yet. You think the Padres are ever going to bring him to a microphone to where he can talk not only to the media, but to the great fans of San Diego that have continued to support this franchise?
That's the $64 million question, Coach, or, $300 million, based on some of these big contracts. 2 quick thoughts is, one, we were supposed to be down at Petco Park tonight, right? Watching game 3 of the NLDS. A lot of people last week, or the final home Sunday, everybody's saying, "Oh, we'll see you back here on the 8th." And it's like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think we're going to see y'all until opening day. But that's just negative Nelly, just like last year when, there was no NLDS after they got skunked the last 24 innings of the NLCS. I'm sorry, after they got skunked the last 24 innings by the Dodgers. But I still follow stuff on Twitter. I spend too much time on there, and the fans are starting to get a little rasty about where's John Seidler. And I think I've never met the man. I've heard he's a good guy, I guess. I've seen pictures of him, so there is proof of life, although maybe video would be a better proof of life. But I just find it incredibly odd that he hasn't addressed the media and therefore the fans. See, the one thing about being retired and just being a freelancer is that stuff's no longer my concern. I don't have to check my email to see that, oh, hey, there's a John Seidler news conference at 1:00 today and have to jam down to Petco Park. Don't have to do that anymore. But, I still follow the team, still follow baseball. Full disclosure, my lovely wife, Kathy, is a huge Dodgers fan. My sister and brother-in-law up in Burbank have had Dodger season tickets for decades, and there's some really good ball on last night, and there'll probably be some good ball on today, and the Padres are no longer involved. But I have no idea what's going on or why, but it is inexcusable that nobody's heard from John. I don't know if he addressed the media during spring training, because even when I was still full-time with AP, we had cut way back on spring training and weren't sending people regularly. But and I guess Preller hasn't done his off season postmortem yet either. Sometimes he'll wait a week or so, but you got to wonder if it's cluelessness or arrogance or look, I'm just tossing stuff out because we have that right. If they haven't made the guy available, you got to wonder why. And as a casual observer now, it's like, yeah, what is going on with the dude? I guess in his statement, he said something about an internal review, and it's like, pro tip, they do that every year. Every franchise in every sport does an internal review, especially, I would think in this case, to find out what the hell went wrong. So yeah, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe he'll show up at the holiday happy hour on what is it, December 5th at the Leucadian?
Yeah.
First Friday in December, 4:30 kickoff. Be looking for Bud Black as the first bowl out of the chute. Yeah. And maybe they could bring John Seidler out there, and we could all turn on our iPhones and video it and then breathlessly post it to Twitter and Blue Sky and Facebook.
Well, Dave Roberts, 2 years ago, he came straight from Dodger Stadium after talking with Ohtani to the holiday happy hour.
That's right. Yeah.
So, we'll see who shows up this year. Rick Sutcliffe last year, and of course this year, unfortunately, we have to honor a couple of our fallen brothers, Bryce Miller and Scott Miller, who were regulars at the holiday happy hour.
Yeah, God rest their souls. Those were both tough ones.
Very much so. Very, very much so. Bernie, let me ask you this. What are you hearing? And I know you're at the ballpark. I mean, you try to play it off like you're retired a little bit. You're at the ballpark a lot, still doing a lot of freelance work, and you get more information by accident than a lot of guys get when they're digging because of what you've done and how you go about your business. What are you hearing, if anything, right now regarding Shield Seidler and the lawsuit and the squabble with the brothers?
To be quite honest, or as the late great Marty Schottenheimer would say, quite frankly, I haven't heard anything. And I would, again, that's completely out of my life, all that kind of stuff. That the only non-baseball thing I had to get dragged into this year was that Tatis Big League Advance thing the day he filed his lawsuit. And that was a pain. But I have heard nothing about the lawsuit, and I will have to do absolutely nothing with it if and ever it is resolved. So I have no idea what's going on. But, she posts very positive things on Twitter. She at least is reaching out to the fans. I don't know why or if John Seidler is or isn't. I don't see him on Twitter, but I see her on there posting stuff. So, but as far as the lawsuit, I have no idea.
When I look at the Padres, aside from the manager, when I think of the Padres, I think of A.J. Preller, because A.J. Preller has really been the face of the franchise. It hadn't been Machado and hadn't been Tatis. A.J. Preller is the guy that has taken most of the headlines over the last decade. And, there seems to be some question right now whether or not A.J. Preller will remain the president of baseball operations and general manager. He's got 1 year to go on his contract. And as far as I know, unless they're doing it this week, he has not been offered a contract extension. Now, his manager, who originally signed a 2-year deal, got a 2-year extension last year when they made the playoffs. He's got a contract through 2027, but AJ right now, his contract runs out at the end of next year of 2026. Well, what do you think's going on there? You would think that by this point in time, they would probably already locked him down.
Now you would think, otherwise he's the proverbial lame duck. I mean, you hear things that, maybe he and Eric Grupner are at odds. I think it would probably be a big mistake if they did let him go based on what he has done so far. He still has a ways to go because remember, and I've been waiting to use this line, Bob Melvin is the only manager since Bruce Bochy in '98 to get the Padres as far as the NLCS. I just figured I'd throw that one out there because everybody dumped all over Baumel, but he at least got them to the NLCS. They have not been, back since, and the way they flamed out this year. But I just think that what Preller did on the trade deadline day was pretty magical. The players he was able to, and it was like that day in right after the 2015 winter meetings when he signed all those guys. He went crazy with the trying to win now approach, getting all those guys within literally you'd write up a quick brief on one guy he had signed. There's Matt Kemp and the Will Myers trade, all these guys, you literally finish one story in a press release with your email another one, and then dang, and that's how he's capable of pulling that off. I don't know who they would replace him with. There are some guys internally and whom we both know and like, but is that the kind of course correction you want to make now? And I know he depleted the farm system. And again, Twitter can be a cesspool, but you at least, learn what the flavor of the day, the topic of the day is. And some people always want Preller fired, whether it's a Tuesday night in May or a Wednesday morning in October when the Padres have been eliminated. But I just think that it would probably be a big mistake. But again, what's the dynamic with Peter Seidler gone? Peter was AJ's great protector. We always joked, and this was just a joke, that maybe AJ had Peter hoodwinked, but they had a good relationship. And with Peter gone, does that open the door for, Grupner to come in and take control? I don't know, to be determined. But I will say, Preller always shows up at the holiday happy hour. In fact, last year, he was the first guy I told that I was taking the buyout and retiring, and he was ecstatic because I said, you're not going to have to put up with my BS anymore. But, he's there at the holiday happy hour. If he survives until December 5th, maybe we can have an impromptu press conference with him and, figure out what's going on.
Well, Eric Grupner's in charge of the business side, right?
Yeah, but you never know, Coach. Again, God bless Peter Seidler, what he did. His death, could have repercussions for years on this franchise. If that family, if they don't want to spend anymore, if they want to give up on Preller. Group Dog has a lot of power down there because Group Dog, they're printing money, Coach. I'm guessing it's a cashless venue, as they say, but, just play along. You got to imagine the Brinks trucks backed up there every night, the loading dock there. They absolutely print money. They've been, they have all these sellouts. It's the place to be. They sell tons of merchandise. And, oh, goody, I guess they're getting a new City Connect this year because, Nike and the MLB, they got to squeeze more money. But no, Group Dog has, turned him into a cash machine. They might give him more power than just running the business side. Again, you never know when you're dealing with a pro franchise what's going on and who has the true power.
Well, staying with AJ Preller here for a minute. I mean, let's face it. He's built the farm system up. He's depleted the farm system 3 different times. But
Mm-hmm.
every year, people, well, the Padres aren't going to make any deals because they don't have anything in their farm system yet. What he pulled off this year, and I know he gave up Leo DeVries, but Leo DeVries is playing in high A ball. Okay, that's a long ways from playing in the big leagues. Maybe 3 years from now he'll be the rookie of the year in the American League with the A's. We'll wait and see. But look at what he did. He brings in Mason Miller, who's the talk of baseball right now. He's not making any money. He's still, young in his career. He brings Ramon Laureano, who has another year, and then they can pick up his option for 6.5. So you got your starting left fielder. He makes the deal and brings in Freddie Fermin. They're not going to have to go out and look for a frontline catcher. He's still got time before his contract will expire, like another 3 years. I mean, he brought some guys in and actually saved this organization a lot of money this offseason in free agency.
Right. And that's why, it would behoove the Padres to be very careful with whatever decision they make. If they are leaning on whacking AJ, which they could, who knows? Again, you just don't know their mindset. You got to be very careful. If they're going to whack him, will his successor be able to pull off that kind of stuff? I don't know. Certainly nobody is replaceable in this game. I mean, everybody's time comes to an end, whether it's on the field or in the executive suite or at wherever AJ Preller hangs out in the middle of the night. Because I guess he doesn't sleep much. He probably hangs out at the Denny's up there off of I-5 and right by Del Mar, right? Or is he deeper into Encinitas?
Well, he's in Encinitas, but he git's around. I mean, wherever the best pickup basketball game is early in the morning, he's normally there.
Yeah. So, you hit it on the head with all the deals he made. And again, it's like we're sitting there. I didn't have to write up any of this stuff because the Padres are off that day. But I still am on their email and text chain, and it's like, my God, all these guys he's getting, and then with one pitch, Mason Miller dazzles the entire baseball world. That 104.5 mile an hour pitch on the outside low corner against the Cubbies, and you could see what the guy had. How many did he strike out in a row?
Well, in just that one game, he struck out 5 in a row.
Struck out, yeah, 5. I mean, the guy's incredible, and so I guess the point being is, they need to be very careful. I don't know if there's a personality struggle, a power void with the loss of Peter Seidler. But they probably should be very careful moving forward, because I don't know how much of the window is still open, the proverbial playoff window. And I saw a phrase yesterday. I think one of the fellas at 97.3, it might have been Braden. Are they built to win, or are they built to compete? They sure aren't built to go deep. We'll put it that way. I mean, and that they've got a lot to sort out during their internal review that they do anyway, whether John Seidler's releasing statements or not.
Well, I'd love to be in that internal review. I'd love to give them my opinion on their ball club.
Well, see, you're legit. You have legitimate opinions. I'm just a slappy sports writer who was nicknamed Strikeout King in Little League and never really got any better after that. So
yeah, but I heard you had a good 2-strike approach, though.
Actually, you know what? One of the greatest athletic moments in my life was in junior college. All the journalism guys were on an intramural team, and we were horrible, and we were coming up against the number one team, and we decided the best approach, since approach is a big word in baseball, is to go to a guy's apartment and get absolutely hammered. And we won the game, but I struck out 3 straight times on 9 straight pitches. There are guys from the baseball team standing behind the backstop. Keep your head still. Stop moving your head. And, so I struck out on 9 straight pitches, three strikeouts, but we won the game. So
you had an immaculate day at the plate.
I had immaculate strikeouts, and we won the game. So I've always been a team guy, Coach. You know that.
Attaboy, I love that story. All right, Bernie, let's move on from AJ Preller, and we'll see where that's going to go here in the coming days, coming weeks, coming months. Let's talk about Mike Schilt. And as Jake Uriani asked Manny Machado, and we'll get into Machado here in a minute, how would you assess Mike Schultz's performance this year?
Seemed to be pretty shaky. There's something missing with this team. Maybe it's not all his fault. But there's a lot of idle hours at the ballpark. Before games, you have to be down there 3 hours ahead of time to get the visit or the home manager in the dugout, and then the visiting manager, all the pregame stuff. There's just a lot of idle time for idle chatter. And one thing that has popped up in my vacuous, empty mind the last couple of years is there's sort of a feeling that we got when we were around the Chargers when they were here. There's just sort of an institutional arrogance creeping into the Padres. That's my perspective, okay? And it seems to touch on all facets. Some of it might be that they're the big dog in town, the only dog in town. Although, San Diego State hoops and San Diego State football is getting better. But the Padres are the big dog. And I think a lot of that is sort of seeping into their mindset, just on the way they deal with the outside world. And I know that's a sort of a big bang theory on your question about Schilt Dog, but I don't know. He came under a lot of criticism for roster construction, for bunting. Most of the time I just sort of ignored that. But the big question is, are he and Preller on the same page with the roster or the lineup every day? Remember that was one of the big things after Baumel got his Amtrak ticket up to San Francisco and they brought on Schilt Dog, was that, everybody, they're going to be on the same page. Everybody's going to be singing Kumbaya. And when you have something like that going on night after night after night, it's delicious to see the angst on Twitter every time he posted a lineup with Arise batting in the number 2 hole, and then when there'd be a bunt, everybody would explode. But you got to wonder, are they on the same page? Are they in lockstep on every night's batting order? This, that, the other thing. Who's actually coming up with it? Is that Schilt's idea to stick with something that might not be working? And I guess I had no problem with bunting until the Dodgers pulled off that awesome what's that, a wheel play the other night?
Yeah, the wheel play. And Bruce Bochy told me 20 years ago, make sure you never bunt into the wheel play.
Yeah, and man, that was, and again, full disclosure, my wife, she has every right to be a Dodger fan, and she is. That absolutely was a play of the playoffs so far. And so, back to Schilt, I don't know, are they all on the same page? Are they all in agreement? Because the Padres, remember early in the season, they had the best record in the majors. They're the three or four of the top teams were in the NL West. The Padres could have and should have won the division by 10 games based on how they were playing at one point. And on the flip side, the Dodgers probably should have won it by 20. But they had pitching injuries, and, I think we can all pile on Doc Roberts for his bullpen management, and they kept, although a lot of that wasn't his fault because he had to, he wasn't the one who didn't go and get some relievers in the trade deadline. He had to send out the same gas cans night after night, Tanner Scott and Blake Trinan. And then the other team would just light a match and it would implode. But
those guys were just brutal.
Oh, it was game over. Anytime any one of those guys came in, it was, I felt for the reporters covering those games, because if they, they were due to have a massive rewrite. But the point being, something was off with this Padres team, big time, on the field, maybe in the club. I don't know. Maybe I think we can be, from the peanut gallery, we can wonder, are they motivated enough? Are they, and I hate to bring this up, but I did with the Chargers, so I'm gonna now, because both of us still have as many World Series rings as they do. Are they the proverbial San Diego soft? I mean, we brought that up with the Chargers year after year. And again, we still polish as many Super Bowl rings as they do. But something was not right with this team, with the talent it had, with the fact that they did have the best record in the majors. Granted, it was early, and as Boch would also say, there's a lot of ball still to be played.
That's right.
Of course, Boch would say that with 1 out left in the season. There's a lot of ball still to be played, guys. Don't
you got to get 27 outs.
Yeah, get 20. We signed up for all 27, guys. But I don't know. By all rights, they should be playing at Petco Park tonight, and they're not, which means I'm going to be grilling burgers, and we're going to be drinking hazy IPA and watching Kathy's Dodgers at 6:08.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching ball from 12 until I go to bed tonight.
I'm going to be watching my guy Gino Suarez, man. He's the only guy to offer me beers in the postgame clubhouse, and he did it more than once and with 2 different teams. So God bless Gino. So I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, something's missing, and good luck to them figuring that out during their internal review. That they can be a very fun team to watch, but they can also be, as I think everybody agreed, they seemed absolutely checked out during the Cubs. Well, during a lot of the second half of the season, but during the Cubs season or the Cubs series, and if not for Mason Miller's incredible pitching and Machado's home run, there just wouldn't have been any there.
Yeah, well, Machado, that was his big hit. He was 1 for 10, and he's about a 209 career postseason hitter in 51 games now. And let's talk about Machado. Everybody talks about him being the leader of the ball club. I'm not so sure that's the case. In fact, I had a Padre executive tell me that I should never use leadership in a sentence with Manny Machado. How would you respond to that?
I think I'd agree. I guess he's the captain. I don't know. Have they ever officially declared that he's the captain?
I haven't seen the C on his jersey.
I haven't either. And maybe that's not a big baseball thing. I know it is in the NHL. You got to have that C. But I just, and this isn't a shot at Machado for his, backers out there. He may not. I don't think he's built to be a leader.
Right.
And maybe he doesn't want to be a leader. But they've given him leadership type contracts, where you're the big dog with the money, the position, the fans, the adoration. He's not good with the media. I'll put it that way. And again, that's not a criticism. It's just an observation. Now, if I were still down there full time, and I'm really glad I'm not, there are other better interviews in that clubhouse than Manny Machado. And I don't think he'd argue with that. In fact, he told
he'd probably prefer it.
He would prefer it. Yeah, just leave. I mean, I would pass him over numerous times and I know Tatis, his body language wasn't good. He's sulking, but he has deep thoughts. Xander Bogaerts is a great guy with deep thoughts. I don't think Ariza is going to be back, but he's got deep thoughts, and he's just a peach of a human being. But everybody goes to Machado. That's fine. That's their right. Well, he he dismissed a question by AJ Cassavell about urgency, and that's a very legitimate question, because it's like 2 more losses, big dog, and you're going to be parked in your mansion in Coronado for the 6 months. But instead he turned it back on AJ and said, well, this is why I don't like dealing with reporters, because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what, if we're your biggest problem, you're leading a real charmed life. But again, I would hit up other guys in there for deeper thoughts. Then he jumped on our friend Jake from CBS.
That was a legit question he asked.
Absolutely legit question. And for people who don't understand that, that's probably going to be the media's only shot to get Machado until they make him available in Peoria, whatever day in spring training they decide to do that, whether it's the day he reports or the next day or whatever. It is, and it's not like, people say, well, imagine sticking a microphone into the face of a firefighter after he came off a fire where 2 people died. It's like Manny Machado's not a firefighter. He's making what was he, 25 million this year, and it's going to jump up to 30 something. He's a multi-millionaire baseball player. I told the PR department his first year he's no Tony Gwynn. And again, we're here. That's all business. It's not personal, as Michael said in The Godfather, Michael Corleone. He's not. And again, I don't think he wants to be, which is fine. And that's
fine. Not everybody's a leader.
Not everybody is. And I would just, if I were still doing this on a nightly basis, I would gravitate heavily toward other people for their insights. It's not that hard to figure out.
Well, I'll tell you that contract, and they got some other contracts, Tatis, Bogarts, even Cronenworth, even though I guess if you looked at modern day, his contract is affordable, but his production hasn't been good. But Padres are stuck with Machado for a long period of time. We're going to see what he's like at 40 or 41 years of age. Same with Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts, to me, I look at Machado and I look at Bogaerts, 2 different guys, and that's fine. Everybody does their thing the way they do it. But I'll tell you what, Bogaerts to me is a winning player. His skills may be diminishing a little bit offensively, but that guy still plays hard each and every night.
Oh, yeah. He for too long, he was sort of like a deer in the headlights. I mean, they forced that deal. They wanted to make a big splash. Back when they signed him. And of course, Tatis still had 20 games to go on his PED suspension, which wasn't exactly, unsurvivable. I mean, but they signed him, and I think he struggled coming over here. But man, when he came back from that injury, the last few days of the regular season and playoffs, he had that dog in him, as the young people like to say. He was balling, and that was good to see, because he is a really nice guy. And again, he brings a different perspective. He came over here with 2 World Series rings from the Red Sox. And he's got a good outlook on things. And, there's no cheering in the press box, but, you do pull for good guys. And it was good to see him, come off the IL and play really well.
Well, let's talk about Fernando. Fernando, as you know, first 3 years when he was on the field, he always missed a lot of time. Guy was really created a lot of excitement. Everybody was excited about him coming to the plate, getting on base. He was playing shortstop back then. Put together some really nice games. Okay, now, I wouldn't say great season because he never was able to stay on the field for any length of time. But this year particularly, it looks like he doesn't want to play. It doesn't look like he wants to be here. We know the off-field issues he's been dealing with. We found that out the other day officially, that he's got to write a check for about $3.75 million in a deal that I don't know why him and his family would have ever gotten into to begin with, but that's nonetheless. Your thoughts on Fernando? Are we ever going to see that young, enthusiastic Fernando again in a Padres uniform?
It sure doesn't look like it, Coach. I mean, and he used to be, again, we don't cheer, but we can have favorite players that it's fun to write about. It's, fun to talk to them after games, before games. He's not hearing the drums very much, the ABBA song, "Can You Hear the Drums, Fernando?" His swagger seems to have gotten, I don't know what happened to it. He did used to play with joy and swagger, and his stutter step round and third, stuff like that. I have no problem with the bat flip. I think that kind of stuff's good for baseball. But I don't know if he's hearing too many voices about hitting, or if there are other distractions. Obviously, the big league advance thing was probably a distraction. But yeah, I don't know why they signed that in the first place. And, not to gloat, but a bunch of us brought that up the day of his statue contract Zoom call from Peoria that a lot of the fanboys didn't like. And it's like, let us do our jobs and ask about it. And sure enough, 4 years later, it became an issue when he sued Big League Advance. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe there's other things. Maybe, I don't know. You're into hitting. Do you think it's good for these guys to have outside influences? I know his dad played the game, but Is his dad a better hitting coach than the Padres hitting staff? I think these are probably questions they should look at in their whatever their analysis their deep internal analysis on, is he hearing too many voices?
Well, he may be hearing too many voices. He's gone from an open stance to a little bit more of a straightaway stance, and I don't know what kind of hitter he wants to become. I would think he'd want to be a power guy, but I'm seeing more of a line drive stroke now. But I'm also seeing a guy that, and they talked about how patient he was. He's kind of gotten to be a little bit at times passive aggressive rather than aggressively passive. He seems to be in the middle. One game he's doing one thing, the next game he's doing another. And right now he doesn't know which way to go. But Bernie, it's just watching him. He's still playing a good right field. But my question is,
yeah.
the question's always going to be there until he gets probably deep into his 30s. Does he still want to go back to shortstop? Does he get bored playing out there in right field?
See, that's a legitimate question too. I mean, his defense is stunning. I mean, every time he made one of those home run robbing catches, I would have to write a separate story because, people like reading that stuff during games, even if it's only 3 paragraphs. And his defense is otherworldly. But you're right about the hitting stuff and the short stuff. Again, I get why they moved him to right field because he was getting hurt all the time. But from the peanut gallery, again, I don't know ball as much as some people know ball, which is one of the more annoying phrases in social media. Maybe they should move him back to shortstop. I don't know. But then they got Xander and his big contract. So do you think that was a mistake, not moving him back to shortstop?
Well, you didn't have a choice. Once you decided to go get Bogarts, you had to make a move. And, Fernando would make the fantastic play. The thing that was killing him, and that's the one that kills a ball club, is the routine play. I mean, he'll make the highlight reel play, but he wasn't making the routine play. A lot of bad throws, and, you got to keep working on that. But, again, he's so talented, and it breaks my heart to watch him mope around the way he's moping around. And I said last week after the series in Chicago, and this is how I would attack it with him, because I have no idea, other than the big league advance, I don't know if there's other problems on the off the field with him right now. But what I'm seeing as a fan, or if I was the owner of the ball club and I'm paying attention, I would go to AJ if I was John Seidler and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. What do you think? What do you know? And I think they need to bring Fernando in and talk to him. And the way I would approach it would be, Fernando, just want to check with you. We know this big league advance thing went not to your favor, but, here's what we're seeing. What do you think? And I'd try to get a read on this kid more as a person than I would as a ball player. And if in point in time in the conversation it comes up, and the owner may have to say to him, point blank, do you need to move on to another ball club? Because he's under a no trade right now until after, I think it's 2029, okay? Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he wants to go play shortstop somewhere else. But you know what? From an owner standpoint, and his contract's going to start escalating as well, I don't want to pay for an unhappy ball player until 2034.
Right. My question, Coach, that's a very, very valid point, is why, if they haven't talked to him about that earlier, why haven't they? Because this isn't the first season where he's looked like that. I think this is the first season where he's looked like that a lot.
I mean, it's looked bad.
But there have been signs of this in previous seasons. We know people who are affiliated with the club. I get texts every once in a while. What's wrong with Fernando? Why does he look like he doesn't want to be here? Why is he taking his at-bat? Why does he sulk off the field? This isn't the first time. It's just the worst time. And my question is, why hasn't this been addressed before? Maybe it has. I don't know. But people notice, and I think he is bored out there. I mean, from my perch, I have the old hacksaw seat on the far right side of the press box, a window.
Well, that was my seat originally, and Hacksaw kind of came
Hacksaw.
He didn't want to visit with the media. He put his computer and faced the other way.
Right. And so I let me rephrase it. I've got your old seat. So I got a pretty good view of right field, but in between pitches, and if there's any kind of a delay, he looks incredibly bored out there. So I guess we can play pocket GM or barstool GM, move Bogarts to second and put Bebo back at shortstop. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. You and I could get hurt crossing the street or stepping up off a curb. He's a big league ball player. He's chiseled. He's still in great shape. But yeah, there is something wrong that everybody can see, basically.
You mentioned Luis Ariz. I had someone tell me who's been covering the ball club since they got to Petco Park. They never covered Tony Gwynn because Tony Gwynn's always going to be the number one guy as far as dealing with the media. I mean, he was beyond belief. Okay. I mean, he made you feel part of the ball club most of the time. But Luis Ariz, I had someone tell me he is the best guy he has ever covered since he's been covering the San Diego Padres. He goes, he shows up every day with a smile on his face. He's enthusiastic. He'll answer any questions. Just a guy that loves life.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And see, that's why there's such a disconnect between what you see on social media and the reality of it. Everybody wants to fire him into the sun because he bunted or he struck out or he did this or did that. But he's a bubbly, interesting, friendly guy. My favorite Ariz story is, one day he said to nobody in particular, there was a bunch of us around. He said, I wish somebody would speak to me in Spanish. And so, these guys are playing a long way from home. Yeah, they're making a lot of money and they're famous and they fly charter and stay in 5-star hotels and again, make a lot of money, but they're a long way from home. They're out of their comfort zone to amuse the American sports fans. And so every time I see him, I always say, hola, ¿qué tal? Which is Eduardo Ortega's signature call. In fact, when you walk into Petco Park, they've got, their thing blaring, and you hear Eduardo's, hola, ¿qué tal? And so I always say, hola, ¿qué tal? to Luis, and he likes that. I mean, but no, he's a good guy. He's a family man. And, that's a side of the players we see that the fans don't see. But yeah, he's got some good insights too. He's a fun interview.
Well, Bernie, it'd be interesting to see what this offseason brings. I think the first thing they got to decide is what they're doing with AJ Preller on this. I think it'll be very interesting. We know they came up short. We know the window is starting to close. Every year, the Machado and Bogart gets a year older, the window is closing a little bit more. They've got some decisions on free agents, but I think they got to figure out whether or not AJ is going to be the head guy or not. Once they do that, then you can move full steam ahead. And like you said, if they were to let him go, there are some good internal candidates. There's no question about that. And we've known a few of those guys for a long period of time. But you know what? You also don't want to go backwards here either.
Right. And, the other thing, too, I get that they want to do their internal review. I love air quotes after seeing stuff in press releases, which press releases often raise more questions than they answer. How hard would it be for John Seidler, a group dog, to come out today and say, yeah, we're bringing AJ back. We've extended his contract. How much?
That would be
what are they going to do? Look at
I would
film?
like to see.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Look at film? I remember a certain cap guy at the Chargers who got too much power and actually asked Billy Devaney once, what's Tampa 2? What's cover 2? And it's like, dude, you don't need to know that stuff. We'll take care of the on-field. I don't know why they don't just come out and say it. He's our guy. Yeah, we're disappointed about this year. AJ's coming back, and we got a lot of work to do because, we flamed out, and we're going to now watch the Dodgers play the Mariners in the World Series. That's my call right now.
Well, I mean, you look at, there were a lot of swings and misses early in AJ's career. There's no question about that. And he would be the first one to admit it. A lot of money wasn't well spent. They traded a lot of really, really good players that we watch now in the postseason. But they've been in the playoffs 4 out of the last 6 years. And 93 a year ago, 90 this year.
So
You
I
got to be
guess
careful. You got to also know who you are as an organization. And I think it's pretty damn good that they've won 93 and 90 games.
right. And at this point, why not let him finish it out? I get tired of hearing the we owe Peter, we owe the community. Yeah, talk is cheap. Just go out and do it. Why not let him be the guy to see if he can finish it out and see if they can actually, get the parade that Peter talked about?
I think it's interesting. Right now, the manager has one more year on his contract than the president of baseball operations.
Hey, as Tony Gwynn would say, hey, we're the pods.
Hey, Bernie, thank
Coach,
you as always so much for the time, my friend. Have a great day and enjoy all the baseball.
thanks, Coach. Always good catching up with you.
There you go. Bernie Wilson, longtime writer with the Associated Press, still filling in, doing stuff, and covering high school football for the Santa Union Tribune. A great guy. And the thing that I love about Bernie, and I've always loved about Bernie, I met him in 1984 covering the Chargers, is that or 80, excuse me, 94. I met him, 94. Um, he's always tells it like it is. He's always got a great relationship, usually with the managers, coaches, and if you can't have a good relationship with Bernie, then you might want to. And Bernie will tell you how he feels. Okay, you know where you stand with Bernie, but he's always, very professional and man, worked like what 40 years for the Associated Press. And it's absolutely off the chart. Okay, we're going to get out to your questions now. Let's hear what you fans have to say, and we'll gave you a lot to think about. And we're also going to mention the baseball playoffs. Oh, O2RR. Thank you very much. I love the history and I appreciate the super. On October 7th, 1984, the Padres beat the Cubs 6-3 to win the National League pennant. Colonel Coleman with the call, and the Padres have the National League pennant. Oh, doctor, you can hang a star on that baby. Nettles to Wiggins, ball game over. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. And O2RR, thank you very much for that super. Very much appreciate that. I've got this great picture with Jerry Coleman and I in the press box. I'm wearing a nice suit, and Jerry's there. I got to call a game with Jerry in spring training one year. Padres won spring training game on a ball hit down the left field line in the bottom of the ninth inning. I sat in a ton of spring training games in the back of the booth with Jerry. Just big Jerry Coleman fan. Of course, I listened to him growing up. In fact, I'll tell you, the first time I met Jerry Coleman was in 1972 at Walker Scott. They had built a Walker Scott in Solana Beach. They had one in Mission Valley, and they built this Walker Scott department store in Solana Beach. And it was right after Jerry had come down from LA to take the Padres job in 72. And I got my mom to take me over to Walker Scott, and I got Jerry's autograph. And, I met him, but, I was a young kid. I was like 13 years of age. And he didn't remember me from a can of paint. But the thing that I'll always remember with Jerry is Jerry always thought I was working too hard. Anytime he would see me, because he knew I was doing all the talk shows and the pregame, and he goes, "You're working too hard. You're working too hard." And always remember that. And man, what a great man. What an incredibly great man. I got Coleman after Coleman stories. First time, I'll tell you real quick, the first time my wife met Jerry Coleman was at Dodger Stadium. I wanted to go see the Padres play the Dodgers, and a gentleman that was a big listener to my talk show, Steven in LA, he got me 2 tickets on a Sunday. In fact, Dave Roberts was playing for the um, Dodgers, and there was a bang bang play in the first inning, and they called Dave safe. Boch came out, argued, and got ejected in the first inning. But prior to the game, we go up to the press box, and I want Jerry to meet my wife. So we go in. It's Sunday morning. We walk in the booth, and Jerry's got his head back, and he's got the newspaper on his chest. He's sleeping. He's snoring. And all of a sudden, he wakes up and goes, oh. And I go, hey, Jerry. I go, it's my wife, Kelly. And so we talked for a few minutes, but it was so funny. And we still talk about that to this day. And I'm Jerry was just a great man. Really, really good man. And his wife, Maggie, off the chart. Really nice lady. Very nice lady. So O2RR, thank you for the super, and thanks for some great memories of the Colonel. All right, let's keep them coming. Bobby, Coach, have you heard any updates from the front office on when they plan to address the fans about this season and discuss their plans moving forward? The only thing I saw the other day was the letter that John Seidler sent out the other day. Let me see if I can find that here real quick, and if I can, I'll read it to you, fans, because a lot of you may not have gotten this the other day, but I got it in my email the other day. Let me see if I can find that here. Here it is, right here. Let me pull that up. I'll be more than happy to read that to you. Okay, here we go. Dear faithful Padres fans, thank you for your unwavering and passionate support for the Padres in 2025. Because of you, we set a new all-time franchise attendance record and had the best home field advantage in Major League Baseball. You're the engine that powers the Padres and our players. On behalf of the entire Padres organization, we greatly appreciate you. You are the best fans in baseball, and we are grateful for your faithful support. While we have made the postseason 4 of the last 6 years and had 2 successive 90-win regular seasons for the first time in franchise history, we fell short of our goal to win a World Series championship. Our elimination in the wild card round was a disappointment and exposed areas where we must improve. As we look ahead to 2026, our goal is to remain the same, but we need to get better to accomplish that goal. The process of getting better will begin immediately as we perform a thorough review of our organization with an eye towards improving and winning our first World Series championship. Thank you again for supporting the Padres, and I look forward to seeing you at Petco Park in 2026. Sincerely, John Seidler, Chairman. So that's what we got now. They're going through their internal reviews right now. I would love to be a little bird in the corner of their walls. I can tell you that. And again, I'm waiting for them to come out and announce something regarding AJ Preller, and I'm going to stay on that. I want to know what they're doing, because if you let AJ go with a year to go on his contract, who are you bringing in? I mean, what he did at the trading deadline this year, amazing. He saved the Padres millions of dollars this offseason, millions of dollars. You got a left fielder for 6.5 in Ramon Laureano. Your fourth outfielder is going to be Gavin Sheets. You got Merrill. You got Tatis. You got Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth. I'd try to trade. You got to figure out what you're doing at first base. You got your first line catcher in Freddie Fermin. Worst case scenario, Luis Camposano, even though I don't think Mike Schultz likes him, he's your backup catcher for next year. Or you trade Camposano and try to get somebody else. And you got to figure out the pitch. And you get Musgrove back, but he'll be on an innings restriction next year. Pavetta's coming back. Cease, free agent. King can opt out of his deal. It's a mutual option for $15 million. He can get out and get a 3.75 buyout. That could happen. There are a lot of things to be decided with the Padres on that, but we got to find out the status of AJ Preller. Bobby, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed me reading that letter. Norm Lee, perhaps Seidler knows what questions he expects to be asked and is not prepared or wants to answer them right now, as the questions may be aggressive. You know what? If you're the chairman of the board, you can't be afraid to go to the podium. You got to be able to handle it. And I'm sure he'll be coached. I'm sure he'll be coached very, very well by someone in the organization on how to respond. But at some point in time, he needs to step to a mic, and not anybody else. If he's the chairman, it needs to be him. He needs to step to the mic and talk to the Padre fan. You know what? Seriously, the Padre fans, I wrote this down here. They were second in baseball behind the Dodgers. We're behind the Dodgers, but they got a bigger stadium. They averaged 49,536. We averaged 42,434. Padres' new attendance record, 3,437,201. Fans were loyal, and those are not cheap prices. Between tickets, parking, concessions, souvenirs, that's a lot of money people spending out there. Somebody needs to step to the mic, and it needs to be the chairman. Doesn't need to be Eric Grupner. Doesn't need to be AJ Preller. AJ Preller can step to the mic regarding baseball. But as far as the overall organization, it needs to be John Seidler, in my opinion. Now, you may disagree with me on that, but in my opinion, that's where it needs to go. Okay. Thank you very much, Norm. I appreciate that. Okay, big Sam Sanford, coach. If you ask me, it's probably time to shake up the coaching staff, not necessarily because they did horribly, but simply because maybe some fresh faces could make the guys play more consistently. Sam, I don't know, and I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't want to see Victor Rodriguez be the sacrificial lamb because somebody feels that they need to take meat off the bone because they didn't win. I mean, he was the hitting coach a year ago when they won 93 games. They won 90 games this year. And you know what? This team's probably not that good. Probably not that good. Everybody wants to bitch, moan, and complain about Mike Schill. I think he's a middle of the road manager for me. Okay. But they won 93 and 90 games. And their big guys this year didn't show up in the postseason. Fernando was terrible. Manny was terrible. He ran into one. Wow, he hit one home run. That didn't take him off the hook for being awful the other 9 at bats. 1 for 10. Got a pitch up in the zone at Wrigley Field and hit it out. Great. Give him a contract extension. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, I can't say who should go and who should stay because I'm not down there. I don't know who does what. So I don't know. If you want to make a change you can, but people need to be evaluated on what they bring to the table. And if a guy's doing a good job, I don't want to see him lose his job. If he's doing a mediocre or bad job, then get rid of him. But I think most of their coaches are pretty good working coaches down there. So again, I'm not going to judge people unless I'm down there watching what they do. I can watch what Mike Schilt does, but I don't know what goes into, the hitting before the game with the assistant coaches or Ben Fritz, the bullpen coach. I'm not watching what they're teaching or not teaching. So it's hard for me to want to throw a guy under the bus. That's me. Sam, always appreciate that, man. Good stuff. I always like talking about coaching, though. Love coaching. All right. Arise is not the problem on the team. No, he's not. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Playing at a power position without power coming from elsewhere is an issue. What, Cronenworth hit 11 home runs? You would hope Cronenworth could hit 15 to 20. You would hope Fernando would hit 30 to 35. You'd hope, he did, 27. That's about, he's a 27 to 30 guy for the most part, 25 to 30. As he gets a little bit older, he'll probably drop down a little bit. You got next to nothing out of your catching spot this year. Okay. I'd like to see a Rise come back. The problem with the Rise, great attitude, great team guy, really got a lot better at first base. The problem with the Rise, for me, is I don't know how much you want to pay a guy that's playing a power position. He's a non-power player. That's the struggle for me. He made $14 million this year, hit 292, which led the ball club. But how much do you pay Luis Arraez? What's the market for Luis Arraez coming up? I don't know. But I would certainly have that conversation. I'd like to see him back. I like him a lot. The guy likes to play. Plays with a little fire. I wish some of his comrades would play with the fire that he plays with. Thank you very much for the question there. Love these questions. Normally, based on your previous discussions about Tatis, do you believe moving him is on the table? He, Merrill, and Miller are all 3 pieces that could bring the most in return. Well, I'm not going to trade Miller. I'm not going to trade Merrill. And Fernando, he has a no trade. I mean, he's here till 2034. He has a no trade until I think 2029. And that would be limited. And then I think after that, it opens up where he could go to pretty much any ball club. But I don't know. Maybe he wants to go to a bigger market. Maybe he wants to go to New York. Maybe he wants to go to Chicago. I don't know. If you're playing in San Diego, wouldn't you want to be on the West Coast? You're from the Dominican Republic. Wouldn't you like to be here in San Diego? I don't know. Maybe he wants to go to L.A. Who knows? I don't know what he wants to do. But he's sure not playing like he wants to play here in San Diego, for me. I mean, he had 268 with 25 bombs, some stolen bases, but no fire at all. But I think Merrill's here, and Mason Miller, you got him under control for a few more years. Padres, man, they hit the jackpot when they got Mason Miller. And I would imagine he's going to replace Robert Suarez. He's going to have to make a decision right after the World Series. There's 2 years He could, and it has to be simultaneously. If he says he wants to come back, it would be 8 million in 2026 and 8 million in 2027. He'll decline. He'll go out on the free agent market. Hell, the guy had 40 saves, so he going to go out there and try to get a bigger deal. I don't know how much bigger deal he's going to get because he's getting there. What's he, 33 years of age right now? It's going to be interesting. Who knows? Maybe he'll end up back in San Diego, but I tend to doubt it. Norm, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Okay, what else we got? Richard Flores. Oh, this guy's got to be feeling good. Dodgers are playing well. They almost let that game get away the other night, but they're going to go at it again tonight at Dodger Stadium. Kind of an interesting matchup. Aaron Nola is going to make the start, the right-hander, who pitched well down the stretch, but really his overall numbers were terrible. They're going to go with Aaron Nola against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I got to like the Dodgers in that game, but they're going with Nola over Ranger Suarez, which is kind of weird to me. Hey, Coach, did you ever meet Vin Scully? If so, any Vin story? No, I didn't meet him. I stood next to him many a time. You know what? I take that back. I did meet him. I did meet him one time in the Padres uh, media dinner area. He always wore the white shirt. He had yellow tie, blue blazer, like he always had on TV. And I introduced myself to him. I wish I would have got a picture with him. I wish I got a picture with him. But he was always very nice and very gracious. But I did meet him one time. I remember eating dinner with the Dodger broadcast crew, Charlie Steiner, Rick Monday, um, my buddy Tim Neverett, who does a lot of the games on radio and does some games during spring training on TV. Ate dinner with those guys one night, and man, I'll tell you, the stories Rick Monday could tell you were just off the chart. That was a lot of fun. I remember talking with Oral Hershiser about pitching one time. We actually held the elevator up because I was talking about how you land with your front foot. Me and Oral were right there by the Padre elevator going from the press box down. We were talking about, proper strike with your foot, and people were kind of laughing that me and him were talking pitching. But Oral Hershiser is a really nice guy, by the way. Really nice guy. All right, Richard, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. Okay, MLB playoff update. Well, we got 4 games today, and I'll give you the lineups for today because it's going to be a fun day of watching a lot of Major League Baseball. Okay, today, 12:08, we got Seattle with a 2-1 lead over Detroit. Got Detroit pretty good last night. That's the first game. Seattle leading 2-1. At 2:08 today, we got Milwaukee going into Wrigley Field trying to close it out. They've dominated those first 2 games against the Cubbies. At 4:08, Toronto going to try to close it out after blowing a 6-1 lead last night against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And then the final games I just mentioned at 6:08 tonight, you're going to have Philadelphia trying to stay alive against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So that's the playoff update. Hey, by the way, this weekend, if you're looking for something fun to do, you want to head out to the Hanlery Hotel in Mission Valley, SD Collectibles Card Show, Saturday, 11 to 4. And to tell us a little bit more about it right now, our man, Jonathan Oliveri. And Jonathan, this isn't the big 2-day one. This is the 1-day one, but still, this is one of these card shows where everybody can come in, they can get around, see everything, and who knows, when you go to sometimes the smaller card shows, you find what you're actually looking for.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I know you're a very busy man this week getting ready for a card show. Let me ask you this.
Yep.
This is going to be a 1-day card show,
Yeah.
but you do 2-day card shows. I would imagine it's just about the same amount of work because there's a lot of setup that goes in.
Yeah. It's close. I mean, the big ones, there's, about 120 tables. This one will be about 35. But yeah, it's just the same type of setup, just scaled a little bit larger for the big shows. But these smaller 1-day shows are just as good as you mentioned. You never know, that one card, that vendor might be at the 1-day show, but not the big show. So you kind of got to always keep an eye out and always be checking and coming to all the shows because you never know when that card you need is going to pop up.
All right, Saturday, 11 to 4, the Hanlery Hotel right there in Mission Valley. Easy to get in, great parking usually, and they have
Oh
plenty
yeah.
of parking.
Yep.
And they don't charge, I guess they do charge for parking a little bit, but they
Hmm.
don't charge the way the city of San Diego's charging for the zoo, Balboa Park, and downtown. So people ought to feel like they're getting a deal.
Yeah, yeah. I forget the first number of people come in, they get the free parking, and then after that, it's just $2 to park there all day. So, then $3 to get in. So the most it costs you is $5, and you get to come around and check out some pretty incredible sports cards and memorabilia. So, yeah, if you're free this Saturday in just a few days here, come on down 11 to 4.
Okay, let me ask you this: are you going to have all your Charger memorabilia
Yeah.
up and running? And tell the fans exactly what you got, because you got some great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll be there set up. You'll see my big banner behind me, sdsportsmem.com. But I'll have a bunch of old Charger memorabilia cards, even some Padre stuff. I have a ton of Padre team sets from some of the teams that you probably loved watching, those exciting teams with Garvey and Gwynn and all those guys. But yeah, so I set up at all the card shows, and then I also have my website, sdsportsmem.com. And it's kind of like an online museum where I'll show off the items that I have in my collection, just so fans can kind of see and hear the story behind each item. I have things going all the way back to the first Charger game ever in 1960 in Los Angeles. I have a ticket to that game. So it's kind of, and then everything in between from there till when they left San Diego, because I'm still kind of bitter at that they left. But I enjoy collecting the old Charger stuff and the guys that I watched growing up, and then that my dad watched growing up and told me about, and then even further back from that.
All right, Jonathan. On Friday, you're going to give us a report on the Aztecs going up to
Yep.
Nevada for Saturday night. They play a late night game up at Mackey Stadium, and we'll also on Friday remind everyone about the SD Collectibles card show on Friday at the Handlery. So a good job,
Yep.
and we'll
Appreciate
look
it.
forward to talking with you again on Friday.
Yeah. Talk to you then.
There you go. Jonathan Oliveri again, the SD Collectibles card show this Saturday, 11 to 4 at the Handlery Hotel in Mission Valley. A lot of fun, folks. Let me tell you, I went to one of their bigger ones a couple of months ago, took my grandson. He's still talking about it. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get back to another one because he's always playing ball games on Saturday. But one of these Saturdays when we're free, we're going to definitely go down there. I mean, it's one of these things, you go for like 2 or 3 hours. It just absolutely great. I mean, not only do you get some good cards, I bought a bunch of cards that day. And you know what was really cool? Everything was really affordable. And believe me, when it comes to sports memorabilia, I'm not going to spend a ton of money, but I'm going to look for that good deal. And I got a lot of good deals at the SD Collectibles card show. It was a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to get ready to close out the program. Let's get to our coach's mailbag and see what we got. Can Tatis approve trade this off? Yes, he can. But he would have to be the one that wanted to sign off on it, because the Padres can't trade him. Can't trade him. In fact, I'll go back. I think it's 2029. He has a no trade through 2029. And then after that, I think there's a limited amount of teams. But I'll look at that contract here in the next couple of days, and we'll talk more about that on Friday. But I appreciate that. But no, he could ask for a trade. And at some point in time, maybe he wants a fresh start somewhere else. Maybe he wants to move on. You just never know with some of these guys, what's going on in their personal life and off the field. You just don't know. But thank you very much. Okay, what else we got today in Coach's Mailbag? User 2361. Hoping AJ gets extended. I feel like the team will regret it after a few years. He seemed to always pull some magic. He's pulled some magic. There's no doubt about that. I just don't know why you would not give the man a contract extension. You can't worry about what happened in 2015 to 2020. You got to go in recent history, and the guy's done a good job. Every year, like I brought up to Bernie Wilson, every year, well, the Padres don't have anybody to trade. Nobody wants, they're not going to be able to get this. I mean, what he did, once again, he was the talk of the trade deadline. He brought in 2 good ball players from Baltimore. He went and got a catcher, and he went and got a guy that is the talk of baseball in Mason Miller. I mean, seriously, he got a catcher that they're going to have under control for 3 more years in Freddie Fermin. Ramon Laureano's got a club option for 6.5 next year. I mean, you can't buy left fielders for 6.5. That's a good deal. He's coming off a career year. And you got Gavin Sheets coming back, but Mason Miller, I mean, they got to figure out what they're doing at first. Are they going to maybe try to re-sign Ryan O'Hearn on a short-term contract? They may look to trade Cronenworth. They'd probably like to move that contract at this point in time. We've kind of seen the best of Jake Cronenworth, I think. And then you got to figure out your pitching staff. But that's kind of where I'm at. I will definitely, if AJ were not to be rehired, I would definitely have some comments about that. I can promise you that. Okay, what else we got today? Okay, well, that's going to do it. That's going to do it today. Again, you can subscribe to the program. We'll be back in on Friday. We'll keep you up to date on the Padres. Maybe their internal meetings will be done, and we'll have some information. We'll dig up some kind of Padres information. John Maffey going to join us at 9:30 on Friday. Talk high school football as we get deeper into the high school football season. Jonathan Oliveri, as I mentioned, going to give it an Aztec preview as they head up to Reno to take on the Nevada Wolfpack Saturday night. And we'll remind you of the SD Collectibles get-together down at the Handlery on Saturday. Thanks again to Bernie Wilson. Thanks to Jonathan Oliveri. And thanks to all of you great viewers out there. Very much appreciate it. We'll talk to you again Friday morning on the John Kentera Show on Facebook, X, and, of course, YouTube. Talk to you then, everyone. Bye-bye.